I must admit, though, I'm a little curious. Seeing as the moon goddess no longer belongs to the Fatui.
Nor does Nodcry belong to Mondstadt, Mr. Varka. Yet still, things don't always have to have a tangible payoff. Sometimes, stop. Of course, I can't say there's nothing in it for me at all. But that's between Columbina and myself.
Forgive me. I don't mean to doubt you. We have our own way of doing things here and
I know there's been a lot of bad blood between us in the past. I've done my utmost to avoid friction that's why I'm here solely in a personal capacity. As a gesture of good faith, I'll be frank. I can help Columbina track down the iridescent moon's marrow. Anyway, what else is on the agenda? Let's begin.
She says she'll be frank, then completely skips over the details. But she clearly wants to change the subject. It'd be awkward if I tried to bring it up again now. I guess we'll just have to go along with it. She's the fourth of the...
Well, since Miss Arlecchino sounds confident in her ability to handle that...
All right.
The dregs of the Crimson Moon.
In the memories, there was a lot of talk about the Crimson Moon and Eclipse, and a whole bunch of other stuff from the time of Conria.
To my knowledge, those were the names of two different Conrian dynasties. Long, long ago, it is said that the people of Conria worshipped the Crimson Moon, drawing a mysterious power from its reflection. But one day, a coup saw the Crimson Moon eclipsed, hence the name of the new dynasty that replaced it, and how it became the new emblem of Conria.
still, long after the Crimson Moon dynasty had fallen, the last ruler of the Eclipse dynasty, the Vinster King, still coveted the secrets it left behind. So, he sent the Rehir of Solnari to secretly hunt down the Crimson Moon's few remaining followers. In those days, Rehir showed no signs of madness. In fact, he was as normal as any other person. Oh, and he had a fiancé, or at least a would-be fiancé, called Tholindis. What's the matter?
Verfnir, Vrindaughter, Flinders,
Interesting. Anything else?
Well, she was a researcher at the Universitas Magistrorum, but it felt like she...
Oh, and one more thing. For some reason, Rehir's fragment also contains some of the...
Well, no shortage of potential leads, I'll give you that. In any case, Tholindis, it seems, must have been the one thing in this world that he couldn't let go of. Tell me, though, were these pure-blood Conrians we're talking...
Why do you need to know that? Hold on. If she was a pure-blood Conrian... Oh yeah, just like how it was with the captain.
If we could somehow find her, do you think there's...
It's possible. But it would take a miracle. That merchant who never knows, Dori Sangama Bay. Maybe we could...
All right, then. Let's keep working in our separate teams. Traveler, Paimon, Kutar, and Miss Arlecchino will go look for the iridescent moon's marrow. As for the others...
On the way over here, I noticed that the wild hunt monsters had grown even more frenzied. At this rate, the people living here will be in grave danger too. So I'm thinking...
I'll head back to the curatorium and meet up with the boss.
Feels good knowing we've all got something to be getting on with. Given that the Wild Hunt has been a lot more active lately, the Lightkeepers have likely begun their own operations too. I'll hold the fort for now, then discuss our next move with Flints, Aino, and Anefa when they get back.
All right then.
Well, the clock's ticking. If that's everything, we'll be on our way.
We'd better get moving too. We'll try to buy you as much time as we can.
Relax. Just do your thing. Stay safe, everyone.
We're back. Did we get here a little early?
A tad late. The others have already set off. To summarize, our resident moon goddess has found us a new ally. Everything going smoothly on your end?
Not great. I don't know how long we can stall them for. I'm gonna make some more later, but I need a timeout first. I'm so tired right now. Oh, right! Inefa, could you fill in Uncle Varka on what we just discussed with...
Sure. Uncle Varka, you previously told us about how when you went to investigate a source of the Wild Hunt in Amsvartnir, but according to Flintz's intel, several outbreaks of the Wild Hunt had already occurred in Nodcry in the period leading up to that. That was before Rerir had regained his body, when he was far from regaining his full strength. In other words, in theory at least, he still lacked the means to act.
Flint's, with everything that's been happening, the Lightkeepers across Nodcry are rallying to fight back against the Wild Hunt. I know, I'm sure you're capable of coming up with something far more effective than decoys. But for now, you should stay here and get some rest. And Effa and I will head back over to Amsvartnir to see if there's anything I missed.
I told you Uncle Varka would say that, didn't I? A deal's a deal. Not a word about my snack intake for the next week.
Database updated. Reliability of Aino's predictions increased.
What does that mean?
They were betting on how you'd respond after hearing their intel.
It's the obvious choice, isn't it? That's hardly worth betting on.
We already decided that Inefa should go investigate the situation over at Amsvartnir on her own. You might as well stay here and keep watch. Someone needs to hang back and oversee our strategy meetings. And besides, you still haven't fully recovered from ambushing Rerir.
So I've ended up with the easiest assignment. Well, I appreciate it, everyone. See you when you get back.
Here, this will serve as a good spot to cross over.
Arlecchino, hold up a second. Since you brought us all this way, would you mind telling us what you got planned? We still haven't got the slightest idea what's going on here. And if even Columbina doesn't know where the iridescent moon's marrow is, how do you?
Simple. Because I am an inheritor of the royal bloodline of the Crimson Moon, and one of the last surviving embers of the Two Worlds' flames.
Huh? Are you serious? Isn't you're a descendant of that Crimson Moon dynasty we were just talking about?
Your surprise is understandable. I was also taken aback when I first learned of it. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized. When I was young, I discovered I could wield a very special kind of fire. It coursed like blood through my... What's more, whenever I experienced strong bursts of emotion or drew too deeply on this power, it was like some... Exactly. That is why my hands are like this, too. At first, I saw it only as a curse. But once I became a harbinger, the Jester apprised me of the truth. Together with my own investigations over the past few years, there are, for instance, take the so-called Crimson Moon. In truth, it is nothing more than the shattered remnants of the iridescent moon, fused with the abyss to prolong its life. Since this blood flame was bestowed upon me by the Crimson Moon, it is a fusion of the iridescent moon's former power and the corruption of the abyss. You all understand the nature of the abyss well enough. I draw upon its power, and in return, it hungers for my soul. This strange blackness is...
If I recall correctly, you once told me that if the corruption ever made it to your heart, you'd become a complete...
Yes. And that's the reason I'm always careful not to push my power too far. Anyway, the rest of my story can wait. Is there anything else about the Crimson Moon or the Iridescent Moon that you're unclear about?
Paimon has a question. So, the Crimson Moon that the Karians used to worship was actually the Iridescent Moon, right? Which was one of the three Moon Sisters. Does that mean that the Karians were to the Crimson Moon as the Frost Moon Scions are to the Frost Moon?
So much of that history has been lost. We have no way of knowing exactly what they were like. But I would suspect that the Conrians weren't as devout in their moon worship as it might appear. The iridescent moon's remains simply served as their link to... Later on, perhaps someone discovered a way to make direct contact with the Abyss. Or maybe there was some kind of ideological divide. Either way, a dissenting faction staged a coup and drove out the royal heirs of the Crimson Moon dynasty. Still, even with the dark sun looming high overhead, the Crimson Moon's glow never truly faded. If you want living proof, it's standing right before...
The first time we met, I sensed something familiar in your presence. When I looked at you, I felt I could see that mysterious red moon in the corner of my eye. In your...
Well, I appreciate that you kept it to yourself. Much about the Crimson Moon is still a mystery, and I'd prefer not to end up as the object of an insane research project. Anyway, time is against us here, so if there's any other questions, they'll have to wait. I just want to make sure I've got one thing straight. In her letter, Sandrone mentioned that since you are unable to contain the iridescent moon's marrow yourself, you intend to leave it in my custody. Correct?
That's right. For now. The iridescent moon is already part of who you are. So with its marrow in your possession, you'll be even...
Deal. Then let's get started.
Get what started? What does this place have to do with the Crimson Moon?
When I first became a Harbinger, the Jester gave me a book called Harry, also known as Leobranto Inam. You should be able to buy a copy next time you're in Fontaine. It's a love story set in the Crimson Moon era. But setting aside the tangled romances of its characters, it also records in the Crimson Moon era, or so the story goes, there was an orphanage that
Beyond the bounds of this world? For real?
The Crimson Moon sages looked beyond this world for beings with powers that surpassed. They made these children crawl up a fireplace and kept asking them, "Have you died? Did you see it?" Until they finally admitted to having died and seen a crimson moon. The adults embraced the children who passed the ritual, telling them the book leaves much unsaid. But I suspect that this was their way.
That explains why I can't sense the Crimson Moon's marrow in this world. It makes sense that it would be sealed in a special space that can only be accessed temporarily through some kind of ritual.
But there's no fireplace here. Do you see a chimney anywhere?
That won't be necessary. The fireplace is purely symbolic. The key to the ritual is crossing the flames between two worlds. And those burned away by such flames leave behind a kind of ghostly afterimage in the world. In the days of Conria, people believed they could be used to bridge the gap between the two worlds. In short, I can open a passage to that space for you. That's the easy part. The catch is I'll need to stay on this side to keep the passage open, so I won't be able to come with you. Once you're inside, you'll have to find your own way. Very well. Then I'll open it up.
Traveler, spare me a little more moonlight if you would. I may need it. Thank you. I feel like I've recovered some of my strength now.
Mistress of the seven hues of ages past, great mother of the present, crimson-clad sovereign of the two realms, by fire severed, by fire renewed, I offer myself now and beseech your descent. One word of advice as you're crossing over. No matter what voices